Hi friends, welcome back. Rigel Smith here. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a simple kombucha at home. So kombucha is basically a fermented tea full of probiotics, enzymes, and it's usually delicious. But before it ends up on the store shelf, it looks a little something like this. So I'm going to teach you how to make a delicious kombucha. We're going to need basically 5 things to get started. We're going to need black tea, some organic sugar, a brewing vessel, some water, and a SCOBY, which is what this is in the bottom. So if you don't have a SCOBY, you can order these online from kombucha brewers. You can get one from a friend who's already brewing kombucha, or you can make one. So I have a video on how to make a SCOBY. It's extremely simple process. It just requires a few weeks for the SCOBY to actually form. So this is what we have after a few weeks of creation of our SCOBY. Next, you're going to need some type of brewing vessel. This is a 2.5 gallon, basically a giant mason jar. So this holds 2.5 gallons. I found it at a local grocer, and I just swapped out the spigot, and it had kind of a cheaper plasticky looking one, and I just swapped it out for stainless steel from a kombucha brewing company I found that also sold on Amazon. So just go with high quality. Some funky metals can corrode, and then some of the plastic ones can leach. So invest in a good spigot is my only tip for your brewing vessel, aside from make sure it's glass or ceramic, or one that's sold specifically for brewing. Okay. Next, we need some black tea. So for a 2.5 gallon jug, I'm going to brew 2 gallons of black tea. So for 2 gallons, the rule of thumb for 1 gallon. So if you have 1 gallon, you usually need 1 cup of your sugar and 2 tablespoons of black tea. So for 2 gallons, I'm going to use 4 tablespoons of black tea. You can use any kind of black tea. This is loose leaf that I get from a local tea house, but any black tea will work. And then I'm going to need 2 cups, since I'm making 2 gallons, so 2 cups of my organic sugar. And I've already done this for us. So to make 2 gallons, I don't necessarily want to steep all 2 gallons, so I just poured in what would fit, which was about 1/4, so 8 cups. Yeah, so 8 cups of water. It was hot. I threw in my loose leaf tea. I let it set. I stirred in the sugar so it would dissolve while it's warm, and then once it was room temperature, I just strained off the loose leaf tea. So that's really simple compared to trying to brew 2 big gallons. It's quite a bit of water. So that's what I did. I basically made a tea concentrate. And you want to make sure that this is room temperature before we start doing the process. So if it's too warm, it'll kill your SCOBY. And if it's refrigerated or cooled down, then it won't ferment properly. So just have room temp. So let it brew till it gets there, and then drain it. So now we are going to actually make our kombucha. So I have here the brewing vessel. I'll flip this down. I've already filled it a little bit with water. So we want about 2 gallons of water with the tea. So I know that this is going to be a good start to that. So we're just gonna fill that up. I have a little helper down here today. You wanna make sure your vessel is clean too. You don't want any residue from soaps. You can throw in there some white vinegar. You don't wanna use the raw, because you don't wanna introduce any other bacteria, but that's a nice way to start to clean it out. Spills happen, especially if you're a mom and have kids, so you're not a stranger to spilling. So just wipe it if anything you spill. Okay, so I have my water in here. I have my tea that I've been making. Now, I'm gonna add a little bit more water so it looks more like 2 gallons. Okay, and then we're gonna add our big, beautiful SCOBY. So this is what I teach you to brew on my previous video, how to make a SCOBY. You're also going to use the starter liquid, is what I call it. So you could use a bottle of kombucha if you got this from a friend, your SCOBY, or if you made your own SCOBY. You're gonna want 2 to 4 cups for this size. If it was 1 gallon, I'd say probably 2 cups of starter. For this 2.5 gallon size, I'm gonna use about 4. And you don't have to measure. This is probably about 4 cups. So this is really vinegary when we make the SCOBY. It's not necessarily what you'd want to drink. It's not the most delicious. There's some recipes on the web for what you can do with it. You can basically do what you do with vinegar with this. You can make salad dressings. You can do just about anything except for pickling. So a SCOBY, this is a healthy looking SCOBY. You could see mine kind of split in two. That was actually one, but split into two. And it's just like this gelatinous, I don't know, it's kind of funky feeling. But you can see this is healthy. Sometimes it'll get these little growths. It's not mold. You'll know when it's mold. Mold is fuzzy and kind of green or orange, but this is just a really healthy SCOBY. So you just put that in here. And I'm actually going to add, that's plenty of SCOBY for this batch, but because I did 2 batches when I was making my SCOBY, it doesn't hurt to throw in another one. So I'm just gonna put in my other one because I don't have anything else to do with it. I don't have a friend to give it to yet, so I'm gonna put it in here. And then when my friend starts hers, I'm gonna just have this ready for her. So as this brews, you're gonna get this big SCOBY that forms. So you'll be able to cut those up, give them to people, toss them, do whatever you want with them. But that's basically what we do to get this started. Now, I'm gonna put a little more water. I'm not gonna fill it all the way up. I wanna make sure there's plenty of room for this to breathe and also plenty of room for that SCOBY to continue to grow because it's gonna fill up the whole top thing. Thanks, baby. I have a helper down here today handing me things. She's a big fan of kombucha. She's drinking some right now. And now we're ready to cover this. And we're going to cover it. This came with a big metal ring, but kombucha doesn't really like a lot of metal, so I'm gonna skip that. You could use an old t-shirt for this. You could use a cloth. You could use paper towel like I'm using. We just wanna cover it so that nothing gets in it like fruit flies or dust or anything like that. Okay, so this is what your batch of kombucha is going to look like when it's ready to start brewing. It's not quite ready to drink. So kombucha is going to need some time to ferment. So you combine the sugar, the SCOBY, your tea, and you're going to want to let this set for anywhere from 7 to 30 days. So your first batch, I would say at about day 7, you can start to taste it. So just take some out of the spigot. Your kombucha should taste sweet, a little sweet and a little tart. So some people like it a little more tart and some like it a little more sweet. I tend to like mine a little more tart. But after a week, you can start to test it. It might need to go 2 weeks, 3 weeks until it tastes about where you want it. So the cool thing about continuous brew kombucha is that you can keep brewing in this vessel. You don't have to do it batch by batch. So what we do is we usually drink about half of it, and then once it gets down to about half, we refill it with tea. So we would just do the 1 gallon of tea, which would be 2 tablespoons of black tea, 1 gallon of water, and 1 cup of sugar. So we just mix that up in a mason jar, let it set, strain it, and pour it in once it's room temp. So that's the beauty of your continuous brew kombucha. We probably go through about this much of it, so about half of it once a week. So once you get it to where you like it, say there's a day that it tastes really, really good, you could fill up your bottle. Once again, no metal, so you can just recycle one of these bottles and we fill it up. And if we really, really like it, we put it in the fridge. Another thing you can do, if you like the bubbly kombucha, because this is flat, if you like the effervescent kombucha, you're gonna have to do a second ferment, which is easy. You would just fill up your bottle. You can use one of these. We've recycled these ginger brew bottles from Trader Joe's. These work great for kombucha. They have a nice plastic flip top. But if you want it to taste more like the store brand, you're gonna wanna do a second ferment. You could put maybe 1/5 of it with juice or with fresh fruit, frozen fruit. Sometimes if you let it thaw, whatever, fill it, close it up, and then leave it on your countertop bottled for a second ferment at room temp for 2 or 3 days, and that's going to give you the fizzy stuff. But honestly, we drink it more for the health benefit. I'm not too picky about my flavors, so really what I do is I just, most of the time, just grab it straight and drink it as needed. She's asking for more kombucha over here. And then about once a week, just refill it with another gallon of tea. So super simple, enjoy, have fun. Let me know how your first batch turns out, and we will see you next time, everyone. Thank you. Bye.